Hey there, pen peeps, it's pen mail day yet again here in Troy's household. I've got two that came in today. They're both, it's kind of hard to call them vintage, but I know that anything pretty much over 25 years are going to consider vintage, 1990s and previous. These look to be from, I would say, the 1970s or so. As I recall, 60s and 70s for Mont Blanc, or Mont Blanc, for their like 220. I do believe this is a 220. The seller did not know. Seller had a bunch of pens that they were selling out of Japan, by the way, and I just got these in the mail today. Interesting thing, though, I'd ordered from the same seller several times. The pen I ordered before these two had already come in. A pen I had ordered after these two came in like a week or two ago, and these two together took their sweet time getting here from Japan. So here's what I've got. I've got an old Sailor, and I know you really can't see on that logo too well on that cap, but it does say Sailor. And I don't have nor have ever owned an old Sailor. It is a cartridge converter pen. It's got a very nice clip, gold on black, which is always classy to me. I've gone ahead and polished these up, and I took some semi-chrome. You can see some discoloration there. So I took, well, it's not really semi-chrome, it's a knockoff of it, or a similar to it, and some pen polish, and no matter what I did, that's a slight discoloration there I have not been able to get rid of. And you open it up and you've got a nice tapered barrel to a semi-hooded nib. I have not been able to ink it yet because it is a cartridge converter pen. I have tried pretty much every style cartridge and converter that I have here in the house, different brands, and looking inside, it looks like it takes a converter similar to that of Pilot. However, Pilot is too big to fit in here, so I've tried different cartridges, different converters that I have, and nothing works. So I went ahead and found an inexpensive converter for Sailor that looks like it would fit. I decided for about $6, $5.88 I think, including shipping, to get it to me, that I'd give it a try to see if it would fit. And if not, worst case scenario, I've got a spare converter that I can use some other time, and that will just sit here and then I try something different. So that is the Sailor that I got today, and there was no mention of the model of it. Now this, an old Mont Blanc, it did not say the model on it, but judging by how it looks, because we own one already, my wife has like a 220 or 221 somewhere in there, and so I kind of looked online just to verify, and everything that I see so far points to this being a 220 model. It's not quite as slender as I kind of expected it would be, which is fine because I don't necessarily love them absolutely slender. It had some scuffs. It was a little beat up, but I went ahead and polished this up so it looks a whole lot better now than it did when I first got it. I had to clean both of them out. The Sailor pen actually flushed out very nicely, nice and clear when I first got it. This one, however, had some blue ink that was in it, so I went ahead and flushed all that out. But this is the style nib that you see, and I would say this is from the 1970s or 60s, because I think it was that era in which they were making more slender pens like Lamy 99s. They were right in there during that same time period, and Mont Blanc wanted an affordable pen. Believe it or not, Mont Blanc was not always known to be a luxurious model. It wasn't until later on, like around the 80s from what I understand, they decided to brand themselves as being luxury, and they were known as being pens for your average individual in Europe, and so this was a very affordable pen in its day. Fortunately for me, I did have a spare converter. Little backstory on this converter: for my wife's pen that I got her, I needed a converter for it. So I went ahead and I had ordered one. And what I had done was I put it on my wish list on Amazon so I can go back to it later, find it, and order it. Well, when my wife was looking online, she likes to look at my Amazon wish list. So she ordered one for me for Christmas, and I had bought one to put in the Mont Blanc 220 that I had bought for her for Christmas. So I ended up with 2 converters. One she gave me, one I had purchased. So I took that spare and kept it here for just such an occasion, and now I have an occasion to use it. So, like I said, I polished this up nicely. It looks a lot better than it did. It still has some few scuffs and all, but I did manage to ink it up, and I put in some of this Robert Oster Fire and Ice. Just because I haven't used this ink in a while, and I figured, why not? So, let me show you how this beauty does write. And I can tell you, I spent just 10 seconds or so on micro mesh because it wrote just a tiny little bit scratchy. I said, let me take that down. It was very acceptable, but I said I can make it better. And just 10 seconds with micro mesh, literally, no more, and it was writing beautifully. So, here we go. A Mont Blanc, Mont Blanc, for those of you English-speaking persuasion. And like I said, I do believe this is a 220 model. I may be wrong, and feel free to correct me. But the documentation I've seen and videos that I have seen online look exactly like this, and they were at a 220. This does have a somewhat flexible nib on it. It writes a nice medium line. But it glides across the page like I would expect from the brand, and like I would expect for a nice everyday writer from this particular company. So, Robert Oster, Fire and Ice. Or a song of ice and fire. Go figure. Alright folks, well that was a simple pen mail I got today. So at least I've been wanting actually one of these for a while, and when I saw it up for sale on eBay, I paid $24 for this. 24 bucks. I've seen 220s go over $100 easily. And this, believe it or not, $6. $6. So together, and then shipping from Japan, I think $39 or so, all total. So I got these 2 pens in the mail just today for pen mail. So there you go. I'm actually going to use one of these pens here shortly to write a to-do list, and I can get some use out of my new Mont Blanc 220. And hopefully I'll get a Sailor cartridge in or converter in pretty soon, and I'll be able to try it out and see how well it writes. Thanks for joining me, guys. I really appreciate y'all.